Salutations, sheeple, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Somplex0, and today we are diving into the subreddit r/RelationshipAdvice. For us here on the channel, it's a new subreddit, so very excited to dive into it. Perchance to give some relationship advice. We have a few stories lined up here today, and yeah, let's just get right into it. I, 27 male, am dependent on my girlfriend, 27 female, and it is ruining our relationship. Hello Reddit. I'm having relationship issues. I was not taught to be independent by my parents. My grandmother did my laundry, cleaned my room, washed my dishes, and cooked until I was 25. This was fine until I moved in with my girlfriend. Immediately there were problems. She was aware that even though I had been asking my family to stop doing these things for me for at least 2 years prior to us moving in, they did not listen. Many fights were had. Unfortunately, things did not improve much. She was very understanding at first. She is still understanding now, but things that used to bother her a little now bother her a lot. I am definitely better now than I was then, but it's not enough. Here are some quotes from her. I'm unhappy about our dynamic and don't know how to change anything. I am angry and I often expect the worst from you. Then I feel validated when your actions confirm my expectations. You'll listen and hear me out, but it's like the driving force for everything is coming from me. The dynamic she is referring to is me basically wanting to be told to do things because I'm just not proactive with these things. I don't have a problem with doing them, but a lot of the time it's like she has to think for the both of us. I am familiar with the term mental load, and we have discussed it in the past. I feel really terrible for putting this pressure on her. I don't feel that a lot of the things she asks of me are unreasonable. I am extremely resistant to change, and I seem to forget things a lot when they would put me out of my comfort zone. What happened that triggered me to write this post? I have a bad habit of keeping lots of used mugs/glasses on my desk. I clear this out usually once a week because it gets messy. Her friend was due to come by and stay with us, so she asked me to please not let them build up while she's here. I said, of course I could do that. Then I forgot and they built up. This morning, she confronted me about it and asked me to please wash them now. I got defensive, we had an argument. I went to wash them anyway because it was the reasonable thing to do, and now I regret everything. She is understandably upset because things like this keep happening. I am sure this is a common man babied by his mother now doesn't know how to hoover situation. I am extremely frustrated because I feel like I have a firm grasp on this situation, and I know that if it continues for much longer, our relationship is doomed, yet I still can't seem to change. We love each other a lot, and I want to change so we can happily spend the rest of our lives together. I guess I am seeking practical advice on how to break out of this dynamic. But if you feel that roasting/bullying me into changing is an appropriate approach, then by all means say your worst. I'm open to anything at this point. I know I am the problem, and that she only expects the worst of me because I have conditioned her with my actions. I do not want to lose her. What steps can I take to break out of this unhealthy dynamic? Okay, 2 things. As a person who has unhealthy habits and behavior that they learned from their family, and is aware of those bad and unhealthy habits, and yet still continues to repeat those habits, there's a point where it's no longer the fault of your family or whoever raised you. It's your fault, especially if you are fully 100% aware of the issue. OP seems to be still blaming this on his family. From my perspective, OP seems to think himself completely helpless to the situation because it's how he was raised. What else can he possibly do? And I think that mindset is holding him back by a lot. First step to solving a problem is acknowledging that you have one. That's a very common phrase, however, not a lot of people know what exactly to do next. I'm sure that differs from problem to problem, but if you just keep acknowledging that there is a problem and not really trying to find ways to fix it, you are the continued problem here. However, OP does seem to be actively trying to fix this problem. As such, we have this post, so I'm not going to rip into him too hard. My advice for this situation would be find a chore chart online and go from there. Make sure that it's somewhere that you have to constantly see every day, so that way you have a constant reminder of things that need to get done Maybe instead of like you and your girlfriend switching off different days, doing chores that some people do, you both have specific and designated chores, i.e., she always does laundry, you always just do the dishes. You always clean the bathroom, she always keeps the living room clean. That can be fair or unfair. It depends on the circumstances. This is something that varies by living situation to living situation. But visible chore chart in your face and having designated areas that it's your job to keep clean. Extra thing on top of this, the second that you are done with any particular item, i.e. a glass, that particular item needs to be either A, put into the sink immediately, or B, it needs to be washed immediately. I'm not sure if this will be helpful, but having one specific designated cup that only you can use, maybe 2 cups just in case. If you only have those cups and one of those cups is dirty, then you have no choice but to continue using that one cup and wash the cup, etc., etc., and then that way glasses aren't piling up on your desk. That would be my recommendation. I'm not sure if that would particularly work. There are a lot of things here, a lot of ways to work around it, but the potential relationship ruining things are you need to be more proactive. There are ways to do that I've said already. And I think with you being proactive would be the solution to the situation. And if you do slip up, instead of doing what you did here, where you promised her, where you were going to keep things clean and then you didn't keep that promise, instead of getting defensive and causing a fight, acknowledge that you were in the wrong, fix the issue, and move on. And try to do better next time. I'm gonna leave that one there because the comments seem to be in consensus with the basics of what I was saying. Find a chore chart online. There are ways to be more proactive. Literally just Google it and figure it out. Also, you're acting like a child. I didn't say that. That's what the comment said. Which he is. He is acting like a child, and he does seem to be acknowledging that. But Godspeed to OP in his progress to unlearning his helplessness. And Godspeed to the girlfriend for a little bit more patience while he figures that out. What do you guys think? Any advice for this particular situation? Any thoughts for the OP? We're gonna move on to the next one. Our next story is I, 31 female, yelled at my husband, 31 male, and he told our son I'm psychotic. Last night, my husband and I and our 2 kids, toddler and baby, went to the grocery store together. In the parking lot after, my husband opened the car door for toddler and told him to get in his car seat, then walked away to return the shopping cart without telling me. I was busy buckling the screaming baby into her seat, so I didn't notice that the toddler was sitting on the ground, crying and scared in the middle of the parking lot by himself. Turns out, the wind had blown the car door shut before he could get in and knocked him down. I yelled over to husband, "What are you doing? You can't leave a toddler alone in a parking lot." This isn't the first time husband has done this, and I've asked him several times to make sure that the kids are in a safe place, or at least tell me he's leaving before walking away. So I was very upset. Once husband got back in the car, he was furious that I yelled. He quietly told me that I was acting like a crazy person and to not yell in public because it's embarrassing. I said that if our child's in danger, then I'm going to yell. Toddler asked why we were fighting, and my husband said, "Because mommy is acting psychotic." That's when I totally lost it and started yelling at husband that it's not psychotic to care about the safety of our children, which he clearly does not. And he can't just assume I'm responsible for both kids at all times and walk away without saying anything. He just kept quietly repeating to stop yelling in front of the kids. It's not appropriate, and things like, "It's okay, kids, don't be scared, mommy's just a little psychotic," and "I didn't leave toddler alone, you were right there." He was so condescending and didn't care at all about the issue I was upset about. I've never been so angry in my life, and just could not get myself under control to stop yelling. When he got home, he locked himself in our room while I snuggled and apologized to the kids. He came down later and said, "Sorry for upsetting you." He's been acting like everything is fine now, but I can't even look at him. Similar cycles keep repeating with us, where we are fine for long periods, and then something happens and I blow up and start yelling. I know I'm not innocent here, but there are clearly deeper issues that need communicating, and I don't know how to do it right. I want to have an actual productive conversation when he gets home tonight, but what do I say? I will apologize for yelling, but I want to get to the root of the issue, so it doesn't build up and explode again. So in case you guys can't tell, I think the husband sucks. But this isn't Am I the Asshole? This is r/relationship advice, where we give relationship advice. I'm going to try my best to be cordial and not rip into the husband. Should OP have had this conversation in front of the kids? No. However, few things here. One, this story actually made me a lot more heated than I realized it would have. So here, this is what I'll say. Husband knows that his wife is handling a screaming child. Even if she wasn't handling a screaming child, he was responsible for the toddler. He could have taken the toddler with him to go and put the cart away. It's not that hard. It's not that far. Having the toddler with him and showing the toddler, hey, so we don't mess up other cars, and also to be nice to the people who work here. This is how you put away a shopping cart. This is where you put it. So that way, it could have been a learning lesson for the toddler. Hypothetically speaking, what would have happened if the wind hadn't knocked over the toddler and the toddler had just decided to not get in the car, to turn around and walk away? Mom thought that her husband, who was in charge of watching the toddler, was watching the toddler, so of course she wouldn't think to have a second pair of eyes when typically one should be perfectly fine. The toddler could have gotten hit by a car because the husband wasn't paying attention. Wife should not have to watch a child that her partner, her fellow parent, should be keeping an eye on as well. That's my first issue. My second issue, I acknowledge there are times where I act crazy when I'm having an argument with my partner. I'm losing my shit over something that doesn't necessarily matter, or I'm just like, I'm going off for whatever reason. However, I have established in my relationship that despite all of that, you cannot call me crazy, even if I am acting crazy. You cannot call me a bitch, even when I am acting like a bitch. In my opinion, that is disrespectful to your partner. So calling your partner psychotic in front of your children is just an extra layer of disrespectful. Especially seeing as the reason why you're calling your partner psychotic is because our child could have gotten hit by a car, but you think it's no big deal? I personally think that's a little bit more psychotic, but that's just my opinion. Should the wife have yelled in front of the kids? No. However, the husband should have kept an eye on his toddler. And now, because this is r/relationship advice, we're supposed to give relationship advice. This is going to be a little bit difficult for me to do because I've never been in this situation. I do not have kids, and I'm not married, so I can't necessarily give advice from a lived perspective. I think that the start to trying to fix this issue would be to start with a sit-down conversation, wife to husband, with the, hey, you did this upset me because of this. That's a place to start. However, I'm not very certain what to do here. I don't want to immediately jump to divorce because there are kids involved. Marriage is difficult. However, the husband is bringing the kids into arguments. He should have never turned to the toddler and said, "Mommy is screaming because she's psychotic." I think the best solution here would be to look at marriage counseling and go from there. However, that would require the husband to be open to the fact that his behavior was questionable at the very minimum. And I don't think that that's the case, seeing as his response to the situation was, "I'm sorry you were upset by my actions." I hope that this is something that sitting down and talking to your husband, explaining how his behavior was, one, not only dangerous for your child, but two, disrespectful to you as not only his wife or the mother of his kids, but as a human being. I'm gonna leave that right there. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments. I would love to know if you guys have any particular insight or advice on this situation. What do you think that the OP should do in this situation? Actually, I was going to drop that story there, but there are some red flags here that I, in good conscience, cannot leave alone. He left your kid in a parking lot while he went to go put the cart away instead of keeping an eye on a toddler. Toddlers, who are probably the most impulsive phase of humans' existence, who love to try and run away at any given opportunity. He left the child alone. He then proceeded to not acknowledge why you would be concerned about your child not being monitored in a parking lot, all while expecting you to monitor a screaming, kicking baby when he was supposed to be in charge of the toddler. Then, instead of leaving the situation until you got home, until the groceries were put away, the kids were asleep, and then you guys could have a calm conversation about it, he then leans over and whispers in your ear and quietly says to you to not yell at him in public because it makes you look like a crazy person. further escalating the tensions of the situation. This is something that has happened repeatedly in the past, according to your own comments, so of course you lose your shit. You start yelling at him because you are concerned about the fact that your child could have been hit by a car, and he's worried about being embarrassed in public instead of the safety of your child. And then he proceeds to pull your toddler into the argument with you. No kid should be brought into any argument between parents. Should you have yelled there? Probably not. But yelling is completely understandable, given the circumstances. Then, while you are, understandably so, freaking out about the safety of your child, he's there looking extremely calm and collected while you're losing your shit. That part isn't in itself a red flag. However, and I say this as somebody who is not a psychiatrist, not a psychologist, not a therapist, not a mental health professional whatsoever, not an expert in these types of situations or whatever. However, it is a common abuse tactic to rile up your partner and then act calm so that way they seem crazy to everyone around them, further driving his "babe, you're acting crazy" narrative. I don't think there's anything crazy about wanting to make sure that your child is safe and making sure that your husband, who is supposed to be watching the child, his behavior, I don't wish to call it gaslighting because this is something that Reddit likes to jump to. However, it's gaslighting. He is making you question your own sanity, your own reasoning. He's calling you crazy for wanting to keep your child safe. That is gaslighting. Okay, now we're actually going to leave this here and move on to the next story. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. Would love to hear if you guys have any advice for this. I'm very hopeful that a sit-down, talk, come to Jesus moment will help fix the situation here. However, I'm not sure. People who tend to gaslight aren't necessarily open to acknowledging that they're wrong. But who knows? We're gonna leave that one there, and we're gonna go on to the next story. Our next story is... I, 22 male, am uncertain about the future of my relationship with my girlfriend, 21 female. How do I know for sure? We have just hit 1 year. I care about her a lot as a person. I graduated from university last year, and she's graduating this year. After I graduated, we began doing long distance. I didn't want to, but I saw long-term potential, and her and I have similar visions of the future and are both ambitious. Here's the thing, she doesn't eat meat. Sounds stupid, but in my culture, a lot of the food we eat is meat. All I can cook is steak and eggs. She can't eat either. It's important to me to have a girlfriend who can cook or at least make an effort, and while she sometimes does make an effort, I can't see myself enjoying the food given that most of what I eat has some sort of meat, whether it be chicken, beef, sushi, etc. She also wants to be a lawyer. I respect that, but I've always not trusted lawyers, and unfortunately, don't respect the profession as much as somebody dating someone should. I just don't trust them, but I do trust her, though I worry in the future she will be influenced by her lawyer colleagues and become one of them. Maybe I'm overthinking, and I'm sure there are great, kind-hearted lawyers who don't manipulate for a living. The final thing, she wants to balance work with taking care of kids. I made it clear I will be very involved in my kids' lives, but it will not be 50-50. I have no maternal instincts. Those poor kids do not want me to be the primary caretaker. Trust me. She said she's willing to move to the same city as me after university so we can be closer. But even then, I don't know. I want to be with her and I care so deeply about her. Though the things I'm writing seem petty, but I can say firsthand that it adds up over time. She is caring and smart. We have good chemistry. She's more introverted and planning oriented. I'm more outgoing and spontaneous. There are many times where she can be a bit stubborn towards new experiences, and I feel held back. I don't want her to be forced to try anything she doesn't want to. And when I told her about how stubborn she's being, she understood and apologized and just wants to make it better. She's a great woman, and I don't want to lose her. I also know she doesn't want to lose me. Just trying to figure out how to make it work and what I'm willing to sacrifice/not. What are conversations her and I need to have? Is it worth any discussion? Is there light at the end, or are these deal breakers? My first bit of advice, I think that you need to sit down and evaluate exactly what it is that you want from your future. Because you say that you guys have similar visions, but then you bring up things that you seem to have opposite or differing perspectives on, which in my opinion are vital to trying to decide whether or not you want to build a future with somebody. For example, raising kids and work-life balance. One, you don't have to have maternal instincts to take care of kids. It would be paternal instincts. Two, how involved do you plan to be in your kid's life? What exactly is involvement to you? Is it changing their diaper or ignoring them while they're a kid, and then when they grow up, you toss around a ball with them for a few hours on a Saturday, and that's a lot of involvement. I think that's an important piece of information that I personally would need to know. Two, what type of lawyer is your girlfriend going to be? Because on one hand, I say this as somebody who works in a law firm. Different types of lawyers have completely different and drastic personalities. We have an intellectual property practice at our firm. They are, so far from what I can tell from just like looking at them from afar, all very decent people. However, very brash, very outgoing, very intense, very direct to the point, leaning more towards stereotypical lawyer. However, I work in immigration, so my experience with immigration lawyers have all been people who genuinely want to sit down and help people, more calm and gentle souls, less likely to spend Saturdays partying and more inside being homebodies. I understand the fear of, my girlfriend will surround herself with people with questionable personalities, and due to her being in that environment, she may absorb some of those personality traits, or those people are doing questionable things and she starts doing questionable things because she becomes desensitized to the fact that those things are questionable. But one, I do not feel like worrying about how somebody may become in the future is a good idea. Because you know how your girlfriend is now. You say that you like her for who she is now. I feel like who she is now is who you should be making your decision on, not somebody she may potentially become in the future. Also, even if she does decide to surround herself with the skeevy type of lawyer, because that's the type of law she would go into, she could still be exactly the person that she is today. And I think planning for that, while people do grow and change based off of their environment, especially in those years between 18 and 25, planning for a personality change that you have absolutely no idea is going to happen isn't necessarily a smart idea, in my opinion. Another thing that makes me question whether or not you guys do have similar visions of the future is, and I could be completely and totally wrong because I have only inklings and just bare basis. You say it's important to you to have a girlfriend who can cook. Do you want her to cook 24/7? Is that what you want? You guys won't do any like 50-50 cooking? It sounds like she's vegan. There are tons of recipes out there to where you guys can make like the vegan options, and then she can add the meat, or you can add the meat or the eggs or whatever that is. I understand that cooking constantly is a hassle, and I could see it if you guys wanted to like trade off that responsibility, but is that your plan? Is that your intention? Or do you want her to constantly cook for you? Also, she doesn't have to be vegan. She could also be somebody who's like maybe allergic to certain types of protein. I'm not really sure how that whole thing works. We're gonna leave that there and we're gonna go to the kids, which again I think is the most important part of it. How much do you plan to be involved in the kids' lives? I think the important part is that you need to decide exactly what it is that you want from your girlfriend. Do you want a traditional relationship where the girlfriend takes care of the kids, takes care of the home, and nothing more? Or do you want a girlfriend where you are both taking care of the house, both taking care of the kids, both taking care of the finances, where you guys are 50-50 partners? It sounds like she wants a 50-50 partnership on all fronts, where that's not necessarily what you want. But again, you aren't necessarily 100% clear on what you want, at the very least not to me. I could use a few more details. So I think starting there would be the first thing. and then sitting down and having a conversation with your girlfriend saying, these are the things that I want, these are the things that I do not want, these are my complete and total non-negotiables, these are my negotiables. And I do think that it is important that you also decide whether or not her being a lawyer is a deal breaker, because no matter what you decide to do, whether you decide to stay with her or you decide to leave her or whatever else, that list of negotiables or non-negotiables should not include whether or not she becomes a lawyer. It is not up to you to decide whether or not she becomes a lawyer. If you don't want to date a lawyer and that is a complete hard line for you, you cannot ask her to not be a lawyer. You must break up with her or become okay with her being a lawyer. And you must be 100% okay with her becoming a lawyer. You cannot build resentment because she chose to become a lawyer. Yeah, my solution, sit down, write out exactly what it is you want from your future. Maybe tell your girlfriend to do the same and sit down and have that conversation. Ideally before she makes the decision to move out to where you are to live with you. You don't necessarily say it in your post, but you do say it in your comments. Quoting something OP said, someone in the comments says, "Do you love her?" And then they quote another thing about the deal breakers and they say, "They're at least giving you serious pause. Are you expecting these things to change?" And then OP responds and said, "Yes, I love her. I'd like all of the stuff I mentioned to change except the meat eating. She has never eaten it and meat eating is not part of her culture." That, to me that answers some of the questions I had. Either you need to become okay with these things or you need to break up with your girlfriend. You can't ask her to not be a lawyer. If you want a more traditional relationship where the wife or girlfriend cooks and cleans and takes care of the kids, you must find somebody who wants that. If you don't want to date a lawyer, do not date a lawyer. If that is a hard line you're willing to draw, you need to end this here because unfortunately you guys don't have similar visions of the future. I hope that this is something that you guys can work out and I do wish you both the best. But if these are genuinely hard lines where you want most things about your girlfriend to change, i.e. her career, how you guys plan to split labor in the future, which are two very important things, I personally don't think that this could work out. If that is a hard line and you don't see your future any other way and you're not willing to work towards something else. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any advice for OP? Like, is there another workaround for this situation? I don't know. I'm gonna leave this one there. I feel like I talked a lot in circles here due to me actually trying to flesh out the issue in my head and try and sort things out. So I apologize if this one is a little bit all over the place, but I really would love to hear your guys' thoughts to the situation, or if you guys have any advice for OP, I'm sure that they would appreciate it. Moving on. Our next story is, I, 26 male, feel miserable in my relationship after breaking up and getting back together with my girlfriend, 24 female. I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years now. In the middle of the second year, she dumped me to be on her own for a bit, quote unquote. She insisted that we continue to share our locations and also continue texting and calling every day, but we were completely broken up. We got back together after 2 months broken up after I convinced her to stay. Looking back now, I really wish I had just cut her off and healed properly. But ever since we got back together, there's been a gradual decline in my happiness in the relationship. Our fights went from once a month to once or twice a week. We rarely have coitus now. I see her at most 3 times a week for an hour or two, only at night, only when she feels like it. We used to hang out a lot during the day, all day before the breakup, but now she spends time with her friends more. Half the time, she leads me on, saying that we will hang out, and I spend time getting ready and getting in my car, only for last minute to text to cancel for whatever bullshit reason. She has become very rude and cold towards me now, where before the breakup I feel like she was a warm and caring person. She even stopped coming to my family occasions, but makes me come to all of hers. At this point, I don't see a future with her if things continue like this. I feel like we are both miserable, but neither of us wants to end things. I can't bring myself to do it because when she dumped me, I had terrible panic attacks daily and crippling anxiety, and I'm scared to go through that again. I get uneasy just thinking about it. I'm also scared that if I do it, I'll go running back after a couple days. Honestly, I'm just naively hoping things will go back to the way they once were. But every day that passes, it just gets more and more hopeless. I also wish she would just break up with me and cut off all contact so I had no choice but to heal and no option to go back. What the hell do I do? Too long didn't read. I've been miserable in my relationship after breaking up and getting back together. I'm too anxious to break up. Will things ever go back to normal? Unfortunately, OP, no. I don't think that they will. The way that you guys broke up would imply, if I were to put on a tinfoil hat for a second, not knowing you, not knowing your girlfriend, not knowing anything about what's going on in your lives apart from what was said in this post, she broke up with you to cheat on you, or to sleep with somebody else and not consider it cheating. And either A, she's still staying with that person, hence why you only see her at night, but also at the same time that doesn't really make sense because you're still going to her family gatherings, so I'm not entirely certain what that's about. Maybe she's with somebody her family wouldn't approve of. Or she's yanking your chain. She doesn't want to be with you, but she still has you around because you give her attention. Or at least that's what she was doing when you guys were broken up for 2 months, because why would she break up with you but still insist on talking to you every day and still sharing your locations every day? It's peculiar behavior, to say the very least. As far as the anxiety and panic attacks, your first option, talk to a therapist. See exactly what this root is for these panic attacks. Are you having panic attacks because it's reminding you of something that happened in your childhood? Are you having panic attacks because she was a calming presence and a pillar in your life that was suddenly pulled away for seemingly no reason, and then you had nothing and nobody else to turn to or rely on? That is something that I fear you should go to a therapist to sort out, figure out, see what's going on there. And I do believe the option is to work towards breaking up with your girlfriend. It seems like in your brain you have decided that's what you want to do, so that is the only reason why I'm leaning towards that. If you think that neither of you guys are happy in this relationship, first step should be to talk to a therapist, see exactly what's going on. Why are you still allowing this? What exactly happened in your relationship? Where did it break down? And then talk to your girlfriend about it. See if there is a possibility that, like, hey, why exactly did we break up? What's going on here? Why have things been so different? What's going on? And either A, the girlfriend will be truthful and tell you everything that's going on, or B, she'll get mad at you, say nothing's going on, you're acting crazy, or C, none of the above. She'll be dismissive. And I believe only option A would be the first step towards trying to get things fixed, if fixing even is an option. So I wish you good luck. We're gonna leave that one there. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any advice for OP? Do you have any idea what's going on here? Because there are some things that lead to the conclusion of some things, but then other things that point away from that, so I don't really know. What do you guys think about this story and situation? Alright, and we're gonna leave these stories here for now. Thank you guys for coming along with me, listening to these videos. I really do hope that you share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I really want to see what you guys think about these situations. Particularly that one story with the dude who left his toddler in the parking lot. I was very conflicted on exactly how to approach that particular story. Oh, also, we hit 1,000 subscribers! Oh my gosh! Thank you guys so much. I almost forgot to mention that. Huge deal. Very huge deal. Thank you to everyone who has decided to join me on my YouTube journey. 1,000 subscriber special? Maybe. We'll see. Who knows? We'll see what's going on. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys spending your time here. I hope to see you guys in the next video. But in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.